Okay, well, I think I'm just gonna paint while I make this video and just do a voiceover because I don't love being directly on camera alone. It feels like I'm interviewing myself or something. I've been painting this self portrait for a few weeks now. It's actually inspired by a painting that I came across a few years ago. I thought it was such a beautiful painting, but I unfortunately lost track of it. And so when I saw this vintage frame in my garage, I thought this is a great opportunity to be creative and put my own twist on this painting and make it my own by making it a self-portrait and making the colors match different rooms in my home. So it's been a really fun project to have, and I'm almost all done with it. I'm finishing up repainting the frame so that I can hopefully hang it in time for New Year's. As I head into 2026, I really want to spend a lot more time just on random projects and hobbies. It feels like a good year just to be creative and artsy, to stop focusing on side hustles and feeling like everything has to be perfect or post-worthy. I just want to embrace some of these more relaxing hobbies and moments. My 2025 resolution was to get into gardening, which is pretty hilarious because I think I've said that for a few years now. But I actually did get into gardening. I'm really proud of some of the yard work I accomplished this year. My yard looks better than it's looked in literally years, and I've kept my elephant ear alive for like 9 months, which is really impressive if you know how bad I am at keeping plants alive. Not only is he alive, but he is thriving. He's literally growing extra leaves, and he's just really made it through some crazy weather. And I'm really proud that I've kept him going. So I hope to keep doing my gardening and yard work going into 2026 and just connecting with nature and then also getting back to some of these creative ventures. As I wrap up 2025, I'm looking back on this past year and really just the last decade, if I'm being honest. The last 10 years, a lot has happened. I've changed so much over the last 10 years, and in some ways it feels like 2015 was 6 months ago, and in other ways it feels like it was a completely different lifetime ago. There's so much I could say, and a part of me would love to just vent and tell my entire life story, but I don't really think this is the time or place to do that. So long story short, just to summarize with what got me into hosting this group, I was a very sheltered, shy, introverted, reserved child growing up. I was an only child, and I came from a divorced home, and that was certainly a challenge, but I was also raised very middle class and privileged in a lot of ways in suburbia. I went to a private Southern Baptist high school, and it was very religious, and I honestly just didn't put any value on making a ton of friends. I never really focused on college or having a career. I focused really all on my high school boyfriend. I put all my eggs in one basket when it came to our relationship and even just my future. I felt like as a Christian woman that my purpose was to get married and have a family and really just kind of be in the shadow of a man, and he fit that role really well, and I just kind of went with it. So when we were 18, we got married. Things went as swimmingly as they could up until 2013 when I moved to New York City. It was the first time out of my suburban bubble. I met a lot of people that had a lot of different beliefs, people that weren't religious at all, people that were creative, people that were artsy, people that were different. And it really broke me out of my shell. I started to find new hobbies and interests. I realized that I could be successful on my own. It gave me a lot more purpose and confidence. And so I sought out a separation from my ex and then a divorce. Our divorce was really difficult because I was so young and I felt like a failure. He had been able to maintain going to school, but I was starting from scratch completely. And a lot of people didn't support our divorce because of our religious backgrounds. I just felt like I was very alone and isolated, and that I made a lot of mistakes in my life. I put myself in a lot of bad situations. And yeah, I just didn't make the best choices, but I did feel like I was making the best choice for myself in getting out of that relationship. Our divorce was dragged out for about 2 years. And in 2015, December 2015 to be exact, I was living in Chicago and I was just waiting for things to be finalized. And I got the news one weekend, a Friday, a few weeks before Christmas, that I was officially a single woman And it was so exciting. It felt like a weight had been lifted off me. You know, I could finally be my own person for the first time since I was like 14 years old. I celebrated for a day or two, and then I flew home for the holidays, and I landed to the news that my best friend had died unexpectedly just earlier that day. And it was the best day of my life a few days before that, and this was the worst day of my life. I grieved so hard. It was such a terrible tragedy. It was a terrible loss. Up to that point, a lot of the letdowns in my life were self-inflicted, but this was just absolutely tragic. And it was out of my control. It sent me spiraling. It broke my family. It made my mental health terrible. And for a whole year, I grieved so heavily. I felt so alone. And I went to some really dark places. And basically every day I just kind of tried to survive no matter what I had to do to make it to the next day. But I've always been a pretty strong person and tried to find confidence within myself. And so when 2017 hit, I thought, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to find my own community and make my own friends, and I'm done relying on my boyfriends or whoever, family and neighbors, whatever, for my friendships. I'm going to seek out my own friends and people I like hanging out with. I had used the Meetup app before. I'd gone to a few events. I always thought they were so fake and cliche. I hated how dumb and silly people were, like acting like, oh, this is such a good community, and then they'd never even hang out and just felt so forced or something and cliche. So I decided that I would use Meetup and try to make friends by doing my own group. I named it the Anti-Meetup Group. I was incredibly honest and just raw with emotion. I typed up this very long essay practically and made an event, and I basically just said, look, I'm going to be at this bar. I'm going to have good food and good drinks, come or don't. I really could care less. But what I do care about is actually meeting people that I vibe with. And so if you want to hang out and be potentially friends, that's great. Otherwise, keep scrolling. Like, don't even join. Don't even waste my time. Yada, yada, yada. I had really no expectations for the event, but to my surprise, everything I said resonated heavily with a lot of people in Chicago because 30 people came out that night. I met my now husband. I made a lot of good friends. We stayed out till 4 in the morning. We went to McDonald's. I literally told everyone there that we'd be best friends forever, but that wasn't really a lie because me and Ryan are best friends forever. So while I gained friends, I gained confidence most of all. I learned that I could make friends in community and I could be in low places and still find my way through. And that's a confidence that I don't think you can ever be taught. I had to experience and see and learn that for myself, and I'm really proud that I achieved that because that was game-changing for me. That night truly changed the trajectory of my entire life. I discovered that I'm not a shy introvert really at all, that I like to host, I like to have parties, I like to have big friend groups, and we had so much fun that year in 2017 as a friend group. There were so many of us in our early 20s and 30s just starting out our adult lives and supporting each other, hanging out, celebrating birthdays and holidays. Everything was fun. The evenings were fun. The weekends were fun. It was a really great time. And it was so refreshing because I had been in such a dark place those years prior. For the first time in my life, I felt really at peace and just really happy. I felt confident in myself. And I felt that it was fun to have friends. I never had friends like that before, and this was just a really fun time. It was a great time to be in Chicago. I look back and have so many fond memories, and I kept up with some people in our friend group, but I also lost touch and had falling outs with a few. So it was a great year. Unfortunately, it ended December of 2017, a lot like December of 2015 when my friend Helen passed away unexpectedly. It felt like I was reliving what I had just gone through almost exactly 2 years to the date. It was really hard. I was in a really dark place all over again. And I questioned God. I questioned the world. It felt like the world was trying to teach me something. And I was just really lost in those feelings and emotions. I couldn't understand why everyone I seemed to become close with committed suicide and why all of our mental healths were in such dark places. And it was just horrible to go through that all over again after I had felt like I had finally overcome some of that grief. Her death definitely affected more than just me. It affected the group. It affected a lot of our friendships. And slowly things kind of fizzled out. People lost touch. We had falling outs and things. However, I got really close to Ryan after that. And in the spring, we started dating, which was so nice because he's the first person I ever dated that I was genuinely just friends with first. We had such a good foundation. He only ever really knew me as a very meetup host type person. So it was really nice though that he had always supported really every side of me, and he's by far been the healthiest relationship that I've ever been in. With time, I started to trust people again, and he really brought out the best in me when I otherwise think I would have struggled so hard. And while I also had such a self-confidence and I was trying to improve my life independently, it was really nice to trust that I could rely on him for support and not feel like that was a negative thing. I didn't have to prove someone wrong or something. It was like he was there and he supported me and loved me unconditionally. And that's something I had never experienced before. So while I was going through grief yet again, I was also really excited for what our future could look like. I started my undergrad again, and I was just getting to a much better place in every area of my life. I still kept up with a couple of friends, but I was prioritizing more of a balanced lifestyle and having friends and having a relationship and working towards completing my undergrad and starting my career up again. And it was getting back to being a good place mentally for me. Of course, whenever that happens, life always has a funny way of throwing something crazy out there. This was right about the time that the pandemic hit and the whole world shut down. We were all working remote and studying remote, and everything changed in the blink of an eye. And I was 26 when COVID happened, and I blinked and now I'm 32. I think a lot of us feel like that time itself kind of came to a stop. It feels like it's been years since COVID. It also feels like COVID was just a few days ago. So much has changed culturally, in society. Things are so different. Things are a lot more expensive. It's insane, really, how much has shifted and changed just in the last 5 or 6 years. Ryan and I got married during COVID, and we relocated back to Houston where I grew up. And it felt like a good time to get the group going again. I wanted to have friends here that I had common interests with. I really had grown apart from really anyone I knew back in high school or my childhood. I also felt like after everything I'd gone through, I put a huge emphasis on having my own community and making friends as a couple and making friends on our own. So that became a big priority for me once we moved back. I started the group here. We have been going for about 5 years now. We have over 10,000 people in our Houston meetup group. I expanded to other cities in Texas, and those each have about 2,000 people. And it's been a great way to make friends, to network, to support local businesses. I've had a lot of fun hosting. I have learned so much about myself. I've made friends, I've made enemies, I've made mistakes. I've had great nights, I've had bad nights. I've learned so much over the last 10 years. And what's wild is if you met me now, you probably would have a hard time believing that I was ever once like a shy, introverted person, or that I let people walk all over me, or that I grieved so heavily, or I was ever in toxic relationships, because I am in such a different place now. I am really proud of a lot that I've accomplished. I've achieved a lot. I've grown a lot. I went from a very broken person in 2015 to now being someone that's finished their college degree. I'm in a really great marriage. I have some really good friends. Some of those friendships are made with the help of my group, but also a lot of them are friendships I made during my undergrad, and also just some friends I've reconnected with over the years from my younger days. And it's been really nice to be in such a good place. I'm also in a really good place now with a lot of family that I was not able to say that 10 years ago. And so I've come so far. I'm a great example that you can change and things can change. It's insane to think that 10 years ago I was just absolutely depressed out of my mind, alone in a hotel room, to this Christmas spending a few days alongside my husband and our pets and celebrating with all my family virtually and in person. Also just getting to have some fun moments with some friends and neighbors. I've really come a long way, and I hope that I can inspire by sharing this story. Like, things do change. You can change. You're not who you were when you were in high school. You're not your family all the time. It's okay to put yourself out there and be brave, and also to have the courage to create what you want out of this world. I didn't have community, and I didn't like what I saw in community, so I paved my own way and I created my own. It's an inspirational story, and I'm glad that I get to share that. And I always want to be authentic and real about, where I came from and my beginnings, even if it's different or embarrassing or just not what you would expect. And as 2025 comes to a close, I think back on this year in particular. I have learned so much this year. I've learned so much every year, but particularly this year, I think my word of the year was accountability, and I was forced to take accountability for some things, whether I really wanted to or not. But it was a great time for me to reflect and think about myself, take a good hard look in the mirror and ask myself what I wanted to be and do, and just be serious about some things. I'm not the 26-year-old that I was when COVID hit. The last few years have felt like a time warp, but I realized that I needed to really take ownership for some things and to decide what it is I'm trying to achieve with this group and with my community and with the events I host. I do believe that it's hard to make friends as an adult, and I stand by that. And that's because people change and people let you down and you let people down, and life is hard. It's hard to maintain. We have so many responsibilities, and true adulthood kind of sucks the life out of you, and it can be depressing and it can be scary. But it's also hard because sometimes we're just not a good friend, and I've had to acknowledge that. I have not always been a good friend. I've not always been a good host. I have not ever felt like a leader really with the group. I've been so unserious, and part of that is as a coping mechanism to not get my feelings hurt or feel like this is all a waste of time. But it's also been kind of rude on my end. I have probably hurt people's feelings at times. I've been kind of the mean girl at times. It's really easy to do in the meetup community. And that's one reason why going into 2026, I don't want to really be a meetup group anymore or a social club. I think clubs are cliquey, they're fakey, they make people feel like they're outsiders, they create leaders and people that are more popular than others. What I really want to be is a social hang and a resource. I want to host events that are fun and hopefully help you make friends, but at the bare minimum, at least help you have a good night and have a fun night. I want to create excitement, creativity. I want to stand out with my events so that they feel like an experience rather than just something like a chore you're trying to cross off the list because someone told you should put yourself out there and make friends. I think I can still acknowledge how awkward it is to make friends and just how honestly ridiculous so many social interactions are, but acknowledge it in a way that's still welcoming and inclusive and doesn't require being so sassy or rude or gatekeeping. It's hard to be a host though. It takes a lot out of you. There's times where people act like they're buying or purchasing my friendship. There's times when people cross the line. Men have made me feel extremely uncomfortable. They've implied that I'm hosting so that I can cheat. I've had people make a lot of assumptions about me. I've opened up my house before in the hopes of helping people connect just to have something stolen from me. It takes a lot out, and I've been really burned out over the years. The thing is I've put so much into the group and I've gotten a lot out of it, but I've also lost a lot from it. So going into 2026, I really want to bring kind of a new outlook and perspective and excitement to the group as a host and also as a community and as an attendee. This should be a place that's fun and supportive. It shouldn't have to feel like a chore or like something we're forcing ourselves to do. It shouldn't feel like we're all threats or something to each other or like we're competing. This should be a fun space to connect. We all need community, and we're all better people when we have that. And so I want to facilitate that moving forward. I want to share my story, but also share how far I've come in a positive way and stop having this victim mentality. And what sets me apart as a host, and I truly believe this, and maybe it sounds conceited or whatever, but I don't even care. Because again, I have to be honest and authentic, and that's just who I am. What sets me apart as a host compared to a lot of other social communities is that I am able to relate with a lot of different types of people, and I also have no problem socializing with a very wide range of people. And I do believe that that's a gift, and I do believe that that is something of a talent that either I have just acquired or that God has given me. Because of some of the hardships I've been through at a young age, I can relate to being lonely. I can relate to being isolated. I know what it feels like to kind of feel like a failure or like you're an outcast. I also can relate to having a lot of confidence and being excited and happy for your future and proud of your achievements. I'm not as young as I once was, but for my age, I have a really easy time connecting with a lot of different age ranges. That is something a lot of younger adults struggle with. It can be hard to talk to someone that's not your generation, and for me, I've always been able to do that. In fact, a lot of my good friends are 5, 10, 15 years older than me. I even have a harder time, honestly, connecting with younger people just because of how much life I have experienced. And it's a good thing because I'm able to really create an inclusive and welcoming community that's built on understanding and being realistic and talking about some of the hard things in adulthood that honestly a lot of people just want to ignore or not even address. I really want to embrace some of these talents that I feel like I have for a reason and bring them into this hosting world setting that I love doing just for fun and for my own community. And I'm excited to really just put it all on the table in 2026. Our upcoming events are all super unique so that you can get hyped and excited about them. That's what friendship is built on, excitement and memories. And you just don't get that meeting up for coffee or cocktails once a week at the same place. You make memories and good friends when you have something fun going on and when you're experiencing something and when you're learning or engaging in an activity. If you're part of my group, you're going to see a lot of that in the next year and all the years following. And we're just going to have a fun time. It's going to be not so serious, but also serious. I'm going to spend a lot of time finding good target audiences so that each event really connects all of the attendees. There's going to be a lot of hype and build up excitement for each event so that you can all have something to look forward to. I think that that's huge in adulthood. It's so important to have something you're excited about and looking forward to. That's a huge hack to being happy as an adult, is having something to look forward to. And so I really want to facilitate that with all my events and everything that we're doing. I want to share my stories, but I also want to share your stories. It can be really inspiring to hear how other people make friends and how other people are meeting. There's going to be a lot more blog posts, a lot more reels, social media posts, podcast episodes, just so that you can feel motivation and inspiration to make your own community and have your own friends outside of the group. And that's what I want. I want that for myself. I want that for y'all. 2026 is going to be a really exciting and happy time in our community. I truly believe that. I'm really excited to see y'all and to host these fun events like our Dresses Katy Perry and Katy, Texas brunch in a few weeks. And our Houston, we have a prom, adult prom this summer. There's so many cool things coming on the calendar. And the whole point is just that we inspire and motivate each other. Like, let's just have fun. Let's share what we're up to. Let's be the community that we want to have. Thanks for taking the time just to listen to my ramblings, and it's been nice to share my story and what brought me to hosting our group and these events. It's been a long time coming. It's been a crazy 10 years for me, but I'm really proud of what I've accomplished, and I continue to believe in myself. This is my passion project. In a lot of ways, it feels like it's some of my calling, and I want to share the stories of those that have gone before me. And I want to be a real authentic person that cultivates a community that mirrors that. And so I hope you have a happy new year. I hope 2026 is a great time for each and every one of you. And I'm really excited to see you at a fun event soon. I hope you have a safe and happy and fun new year. And I can't wait to hear about your resolutions and everything you're trying to accomplish in 2026. Don't be a stranger. Reach out, support our group, support the vibes. Let's just have a great time.